Hello, welcome back to my channel where today I'll be transforming two of my old t-shirts into Clowncore pieces. Mainly because I want to lean more into the Clowncore aesthetic. Usually I do my makeup Clowncore, but I'm very ill so I don't want to put makeup on my face currently. But I really want to lean more into the Clowncore aesthetic, and lots of my clothing doesn't really match that. I kind of have more of like cyber clothing. So I thought the best way of getting Clowncore clothing was by making it myself, but I will stop rambling and I will get on to the sewing. So the first t-shirt we're making over today is this lime green one. I like this t-shirt, but I feel like it doesn't really fit me all that well. And it's also kind of boring, so I just don't wear it. So I feel like it's a perfect candidate for this. So the first thing I did was cut this t-shirt directly up the middle. I did this because I wanted to have a stripe down the center of the top, but I also wanted to upsize this t-shirt so it was a little bit less tight around me. So I thought this would be a good way of adding style, but also adding functionality to the t-shirt. For the added details, I wanted to use a color that contrasts, but also wasn't a different color. So I went with this nice dark green fabric that I already owned. It's also a similar sort of fabric to the one that the t-shirt is made out of. It's like vaguely scubery, very thick, stretchy material. So that also helped in the construction aspects. With my fabric chosen, I then went on to cutting out all the elements I needed for this t-shirt, which was 2 strips to go across the front and back, triangles to make the sleeves a little bit bigger and also to add some detail to them, and then lots of big dots, most of which I didn't even end up using, but it's always better to have too much than too little, I guess. I was definitely just making things up as I was going along, but my inspiration was taken from clowns when they have dots all the way down the front of their outfits, because I really like that look, but I don't like 3D elements to my clothing, so I thought I could do something inspired by that but make it completely flat. I also just like the contrast between different shapes, so I thought it'd be interesting to use lines, triangles and circles all in one look. I feel like it does look a little bit mismatched, so if I was going to do this again, I think I'd make the line down the middle another triangle so it just matched the sleeves a little bit more. This would also help with my issue with the neckline where it got a little bit too big for my liking, because I obviously cut it up the front and the back, but if I just cut up to the neckline and then added a triangle, I could have expanded the shirt without having that issue. Moving on now to sewing everything together, I did this via applique, which basically just means putting both pieces of fabric on top of each other and sewing it from the top downwards. I will say it did pucker slightly. I think it's because it's a stretch fabric and both fabrics have a slightly different stretch to them, meaning when I was pulling it on the machine they were just kind of moving away from each other a little bit differently. But it wasn't so egregious that a wash couldn't fix them. I kind of just threw these into the washing machine and it got rid of the majority of the puckering. But if you were going to do something similar to this and you wanted it to look slightly more professional, I would recommend using a stabilizer. I've seen a few people on YouTube just use tissue paper for this. You can buy actual stabilizer for fabric, but it appears that anything you can rip off the seams afterwards is perfectly good for this. It kind of just keeps the fabric together a little bit more and stops it stretching incorrectly. And that could have really helped me here. I don't think it's that much of an issue though, because it's just a personal piece for me. But obviously if I was going to sell this in any sort of way, I couldn't have all this puckering. I'll also just note that the bottom of the shirt has a little bit of a weird roll to it, because the fabrics are different thicknesses. They roll very differently. I feel like I should have definitely sewed the bottom hem, but I was just feeling a little bit too ill to do that. Maybe I'll go back and do that at some point when I'm feeling a little bit better. Right now, I've got such a bad headache, I do not want to be sitting at the sewing machine any longer than I have to. And this is the finished result. I think it looks really cute. It kind of reminds me of a frog for some reason. That wasn't what I was going for, but I do like frogs, so I'm not mad about it looking like a frog. There's definitely some improvements that I could add to it. I feel like some smaller dots would look really nice. And like I said before, I wish the line at the middle was a triangle instead, just so it kind of tied together a little bit better. But overall, I feel like this is a very successful project for me. Obviously not everyone's taste, but very much my taste. For my second project today, I'm going to be making over this blue t-shirt. I used to wear this quite a lot, but I haven't really worn it recently because I have another blue t-shirt which is slightly more interesting. And because of that, I feel like this is very much in need of an upcycling. Because this is a longer t-shirt, I decided I wanted to also make this one slightly bigger, but I didn't want to have the lines up the front and the back like I did for the last project, just because I didn't want them looking too similar. So instead I took inspiration from Miles from Into the Spider-Verse and did strips down the side in a darker colour. And I think this looks better than having it up the middle. It just looks a little bit more interesting to me. My added colour for this one is a darker blue, mainly because I have this colour lying around and I feel like they go really well together. I know it's very similar to the last one. I wish I had a brighter blue for this, but I really wanted to use the fabric that I already owned instead of going out and buying extra fabric, because I feel like it's more in the spirit of upcycling. and I started out by cutting 2 long strips and placing them up the sides, and I sewed these on using a regular seam rather than appliquing them, just because I felt like this was going to be an area that was going to stretch a lot more, so it really needed a stronger hold. The angle of the shirt in this area is also just a little bit harder to applique onto because of the divot where the armpit is, so this just made my job a little bit easier. Now to add the actual clowncore element of this t-shirt, I decided that what I wanted to do was add a really big clown ruff to this t-shirt, but I didn't want to overdo it, which was kind of a mistake on my part. I thought I should just do it at the front so at the back it looked like a normal t-shirt, but in hindsight I wish I'd done it all the way round, because I think if it was a full collar it would read more as a clowncore piece, and it would also look more professional. I feel like it kind of just cuts off at a weird angle. I managed to get them quite equal on either side, but other than that it does look a little bit messy on the back. It doesn't look so bad to the point where I wouldn't wear this t-shirt, but I just know it could look so much better. But anyway, onto how I actually made the collar. I started out by making a long strip of the blue fabric into a tube. I wanted to have the underside as nicely done as the overside, just because I knew this collar was probably going to pick up in the wind sometimes and I don't want any raw edges on show. And then I added a very simple pleat across this tube. I didn't want to do anything overly complicated and I didn't want to measure it either, as it would have just felt over-engineered to me. To sew the clown collar onto the shirt, I just folded it over the t-shirt's collar and flat sewed it in the same way I did the green t-shirt. I thought this would be the best way of stopping it rolling over on itself because it's quite a heavy piece of fabric, so I didn't want the inside seam to be revealed, and I also wanted to try and keep it as neat as possible just in case it was revealed. It turns out that it doesn't really roll over, which is great. I was really worried about that. But if you do something similar and it is rolling, you can add kind of a button to the back of it just to make the collar a little bit tighter and just make it sit a little bit flatter on your neck. And this is the final t-shirt. I think it is so cute. It's very me. I really wish I'd finished the collar all the way around, so I will definitely be doing that in the future, but that is not going to stop me wearing this. I'm going to wear this all the time. I can just see it already. I also very much want to make a pink one. I feel like a pink one would look even cuter than this blue one, like a light pink t-shirt with a very bright pink collar. That would look so cool. I really want to make that. I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed my 2 final results. They came out better than I thought they were going to, especially because I'm quite ill. But yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like down below, comment what else you'd like me to do, and subscribe as I post a new video every single Thursday, and I'd love to see you again. But until then, bye!